All right, welcome back, everybody. Now, I've been party to the sinister agenda against Zuma and can only apologise for that. I'm not saying I'm suddenly his biggest fan, but it's time to admit I've been party to the unfairness along with my colleagues, with many of my colleagues, I should say. These aren't my words. These are the words from the Citizen newspaper's editor, Steve Mutale, who joins us now to discuss an extremely interesting article entitled, "I'm Sorry, President Zuma." Stephen, it's good to have you on the program and welcome to Morning Live.
Thanks, Liam.
All right, a lot of people have read this letter. Basically, and I don't say it's a letter, it's an article and an extra long article.
Yeah, it's a column.
It is. From your basic perception of how reporting is done on President Zuma. Why did you do this?
Look, Liam, I did a lot of soul searching and I had a lot of weight on my shoulders. And based on the history of the Citizen itself and how it supported the official opposition. That has been a lot of weight on my shoulders, and I did a lot of introspection, and I said, you know what, I need to clear myself.
Yeah. I
had my own perceptions about the president. I've said it in the column there. The fact that he was not educated. The fact that he has multiple wives. I mean, to a clever black like myself, I couldn't perceive that particular individual becoming a president of the country.
Yeah.
So that particular perception influenced my writing. And I said, you know what? Let me say sorry to the guy. It is very, very difficult to extract an apology from an editor or from a newspaper. It takes tons and tons of courage. I said, you know what, let me do this and I'll deal with the consequences.
Yeah. Now, I mean, you've been editor for, I think it's 2 years now, almost 2 years, in October about.
Yes.
And obviously something led you to doing this, because prior to that you were actually the political editor at the Citizen.
Yeah.
So your role on reporting on President Zuma was massive.
Exactly.
And obviously, you know, your angles were of utmost importance, and they judged by us, and it almost creates how we perceive the president. What happened, though? I think the big question is, what led you to being so brave, I suppose, in how you think that what you've done?
Let's first have a look at what I've mentioned in the column itself. The Judge Hilary Squire's judgment. You know, after the judgment itself, we in the media peddled lies that the judge said Zuma and Sheikh had a corrupt relationship between the two. It took the judge himself, in a very, very unprecedented move, to clear himself. And this is my point. When the judge did that, he was ridiculed in the media because he was telling us what we didn't want to hear. That this is not what I said. Go and do your homework. Instead of doing introspection, we went for the judge. He was cartooned. He was the Mambara of the week. The reason being, he was telling us something that we didn't want to hear. And these are the same people who claim to be messengers of truth. Yeah. How can we portray ourselves as messengers of truth when we are allergic to the same truth that we claim to be portraying?
Yeah.
That is my point. And even after the judge had cleared himself, we still went on with the lie of this corrupt relationship between Zuma and Sheikh.
Why did you do that then? If you feel that, I mean, we're talking back in 10 years ago, that's 2005. We're now sitting in 2015. It's taken you 10 years to admit to this. Have you been pressurized by the ANC?
It's not about the judgment itself. I used Jacob Zuma as an example of how we peddle lies.
Yeah.
And our unbiased. And our bias. I just use President Zuma. Let's look at Nkandla itself, for instance. You know, I was on another TV station last night, and a youngster, Stephen boldly said Zuma spent 250 million on his private Nkandla home. He's stating it as a fact.
Yeah.
Where does he? What is the basis of his argument? Can he really point to Zuma's involvement in Nkandla? This is what we are trying to do.
Yeah.
Hence the Public Protector's report, the SIU report, and the minister's own report. Nothing so far. Look, I admit, and everybody, the ANC, everybody, we in the media, there was wrongdoing in Nkandla. But the fact of the matter is, we want to go at all cost and link Zuma to that. It's not yet coming, but we have painted the guy as having been the mastermind behind the corruption that went on there. Yeah. This is unfair.
If we take Nkandla and we look at Nkandla, a lot of the things that the media is reporting on is not necessarily invented by the media.
Yeah.
The Public Protector's report was not invented by the media. We're just merely reporting on the findings of the Public Protector.
Exactly.
And when you look at Nkandla, and a lot of people will, this is an issue that's not going to go away.
Exactly.
It's going to stay with us for a very long time. And people are very worried about the overspending and the amount that South Africans do live in poverty, and that we don't have development that are happening for the most needy South Africans. And yet we see 250 rand being spent on the president's personal home. Now, it is difficult, and I can't say that he spent that money. I can never, ever say that. But it's his home. Surely he saw this happening and thought, hang on, guys, what are you doing? So, I mean, you know, in terms of judging the president, I think we're judging him on the reports that have been laid out.
Exactly.
Or have you been doing it or have you, as the editor of The Citizen, been reporting in a different way?
You see, that is the problem that I have. We haven't done our homework. There are reports. Look, we are all agreed. There was wrongdoing in Nkandla. Too much was spent on, there was price inflation. But in the angle that we are pursuing relentlessly is to link President Zuma to the corruption there. Nothing wrong. Let's come up with evidence. This has not been happening. But the perception, the message that has been sent out there to the entire public is that Zuma had unlimited access to the treasury and took more than 200 million and spent it on his private property. This is the message that we have been spreading. We have been fishing for evidence. It hasn't been coming so far. But we are trying relentlessly to link the man himself to the corruption in Nkandla.
Yeah.
I agree. There's a lot of money that has been spent, and of course in the midst of all this poverty that we have highlighted.
Yeah.
But then, let's do our homework. We are the watchdog. Let's play our role. Let's investigate. If you want to nail the man, let's come up with facts. And let's not invent them.
I asked the question a little bit earlier, but perhaps it was lost in your answer. But have you been pressurized by the ANC?
Not at all. Look, I have been the biggest critic of the ANC. And
will you continue to
I
be a
will
critic?
definitely continue to play my role to make it a point that they are held accountable. The ANC is the custodian of the public purse by virtue of being the ruling party. Now, we've got to ask questions. They've got to account on how they spend public purse. And I will continue to do it. Not with any particular agenda, by the way, in the interest of truth.
Do you not think, in a way, that by doing this you may have upset citizen readers that have been reading your newspaper for all of these years, and you yourself now are admitting that it was actually a bunch of lies that were in the newspaper? Do you not think that this will ruin people going forward, and perhaps sales of Citizens will decline? Because it is all about sales after all, isn't it?
Well, it is about sales, but to me, truth matters. Truth matters. I will never sacrifice truth on the altar of commercial gain. Anybody, and I'm still challenging people, go and read out what I've written there. I've even mentioned names. I've mentioned the wrongdoing on the part of the Citizen. Look, I've said it. The Citizen has been promoting the DA. My predecessor, for instance, immediately when he retired, he became a DA councillor. And this is the same newspaper that has been condemning the ANC for cadre deployment. That is a classic case of cadre deployment on the part of the DA, the very same party that has been criticizing the ANC for the same policy. Look, truth is uncomfortable, but it takes brave people to tell it.
Well, it'll be difficult to talk about Williams without bringing him into the studio to talk about that as well. But we all know that he is with the DA right now. But he was at the Citizen for 19 years. The history of the Citizen, back to 1976, founded by Louis Late. It was a government mouthpiece then. But why, when you took over as the editor in 2013, didn't you change it then and just say, okay, great, let's report on the truth now, look, if you think the truth wasn't reported on?
Leon, if you have a look at the Citizen since I took over, there have been a lot of changes. I am backed on changes from day one. Firstly, the Citizen had been dubbed a SABC newspaper. It was so reliant on wire copy. We changed that. We brought in very, very hungry youngsters. If you look at the Citizen today, 80% of our content is self-generated. We don't rely on wires anymore. So there was a lot on my part that I had to do, and I'm doing that, and I'm still going to do that. So if you have a look at the Citizen today, with openness and honesty, you will see that there are real changes.
I just want to wrap the interview, but I just want to also read the public's comments, because in the Citizen today you have also published some of the feedback, and I think there's been a lot of feedback to this particular letter. Leko is saying he's being forced by the ANC, which you have denied. You said that this is not because of it.
The last time I was at Luthuli House was when I was the political reporter. I've never been to Luthuli House. I've never spoken to Gweda Mantashe, for instance. As I'm saying, the last time I was at Luthuli House was when I was a political reporter, and that was the time of Smarts Ngonyama. That was the last time I was at Luthuli House.
Next comment, Nuvia Boy saying, Steve, you're denting your reputation. He lies but believes in the truth, hypocrisy at its best.
No.
How do you change and redeem yourself now?
Look, what I've highlighted in the very same column is hypocrisy. It is hypocrisy. Where I challenge this particular viewer to go and read that column and tell me who's a hypocrite.
Next person writing in saying, this man on your show, it is Stephen Motale, who's the editor of The Citizen, is not telling the truth. I think the ANC is using him to clean Zuma's name for the 2016 election.
Why would they go for Stephen Motale? I mean, my publication, for instance, the circulation is 60,000. There are major publications, for instance, the Sunday Times, which has over 500,000 circulation. The Daily Sun, for instance, the biggest selling newspaper. If the ANC was smart enough, they would target those particular editors. Why would you go for an editor of a newspaper that has 60,000 circulation?
Stephen, I think that people that haven't read the article should read it. It is long. It is well researched. You give a huge summary of history back to 2005 up until today, and I suppose viewers can make up their minds after you've read the article. It's important to read the article and then to talk about it. But listen, thank you for coming in. And will you be doing a follow-up?
I'm definitely going to look. The Citizen, this is one legacy that I want to leave behind, that the Citizen is a platform for debate. This is one debate that I want us to continue.
Are you worried about your job? Because you are reporting to bosses. Have you been threatened in any way?
Look, so far, I've had the support of my bosses. And when I took over, they told me in no uncertain terms that they are not going to interfere with editorial independence. And so far, they have kept their promise.
Stephen Motale, editor of The Citizen, thank you very much for writing to us, or coming in to talk to us. I'm so focused on your writings. But if people want to read it, go to The Citizen website. Follow The Citizen on Twitter as well, and you'll be able to pick up that article there. I've tweeted it, so has Morning Live SABC tweeted it as well. Please read the article. Let's now get your news headlines.